So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, guys, I was just asking Logan if he had any questions, if he felt there were any omissions or anything we needed to add. And then if I quote you correctly, Logan, you said basically it's a good foundation for the discussion. But you did have a very good question, and I think it's worth repeating it if you could, please.
No problem. Yeah, I was just saying, this the idea of Islam as reason, is very good, but then it's reason comes out of the Quran. But then the question is, what is the role of revelation then? Because because for example, Al-Ghazali, he's an Ash'ari, but he points out that reason can only take you so far, and so because of these limits to reason, revelation becomes a necessity, right? But for a Mutazili or a Zaidi, who I guess are putting, are attributing a little bit more capability to reason, is it just a matter of drawing the line a little bit later, like at a different level, or is what does the role of reason become at that point, basically?
I would think the term is maximizing the role of reason, right? As compared to the Ash'aris.
Yeah, exactly. And also the definition of reason, right? Because I don't know if you were present on the last call, Logan.
I had to watch it on the video, I think, actually. Yes.
Okay, but there was one call where I think it was Rashid, and we were having the discussion with Rashid, and we were saying basically, reason is more than just logic. So we have to be careful and not limit the term reason to
the point which you mentioned that the term akal should be understood at the highest level, which is intuition.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, so you're talking about, logic, knowledge, wisdom, rhetoric, but then later intuition, okay, energy, vibration, if you will. So if we take the term kun fayakun in the Quran in any way seriously, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spoke a term, or somehow he vibrated a thing and it became, yeah? So at the final level of akal, what you're doing is attuning your vibration to that highest of vibrations, yeah? So reason becomes a different thing than necessarily what we often limit it as, yeah? So in that sense, revelation could be considered simply an extension of reason, or if you will, a reasonable way for Allah to help humanity understand things in words or with language, okay?
Yeah.
Or in other contexts with other symbols. So maybe through music or through pictures, if you look at other religions, through metaphors, allegories, experiences of revelation, yeah? Whatever is the tool to express that reason. In the case of the Quran and of Islam, it's been the spoken word through the Quran, clearly, yeah? So now someone might come and claim that, you cannot express reason to that level. You cannot expand the meaning to that extent. And I would simply ask why? Why not? It is reasonable that if there is a higher power, then that would create a conscious, sentient being that at some level it would present that avenue of connection to such a sentient being. Otherwise, why would it create that being in the first place with that level of consciousness, right? So there are bridges to be built, and that's a very simple one. Yeah, that's a very simple logical crutch, if you will.
And I think we should go back to the story of Ibrahim.
Alayhi salam. Go ahead.
And the questions that he raised in search of God. That itself is utilizing reason and conceptualization in searching and getting to know God. That should be the basis of reason, I would feel.
Can you elaborate on that? Are you referring to a specific passage in the Quran or in the Torah, or what is it you're exactly referring to, Muhammad?
I can't exactly recall the exact verse, but the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was asking, he saw the sun and asking whether this is my God.
Okay.
Hadha Rabbi. That I think we can relate to that passage. Yeah, that itself can be argued as the origin of philosophy, right? And the origin of reason, asking the right questions in search of the truth.
Right.
Mhm.
Perfect. That's beautiful. I agree. I mean, that's a really nice way to put it. So again, we're back to the question of the question, right? So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want us to ask questions, why would he then create a being that's capable of asking a question, right? Why would he take such a dangerous step, if you will? Because the danger is always that the question is either asked incorrectly or answered incorrectly or both, and that the creation that it has intended goes away from him or somehow leaves him as the creator, turns his back on him, which is certainly, becoming a status quo, if you will, in many parts of the world. So it can definitely happen, right? So why would he give such freedom? Why would he grant such freedom? It all comes from the question, right? So that's a great way to look at it. I could name other examples in the Quran. When Hazrat Musa alayhi salam meets his teacher, his ustad or his guru at the Majmu al-Bahrain, and the ustad basically tells him, you're not going to be able to follow me because you can't understand some of the things that I'm about to do, right? And then the whole sequence of events that unfolds from there, and how the teacher essentially leaves him because he couldn't keep up. Yeah. And then of course there are the examples of Hazrat Yusuf and the dream reading, how he had the capacity to read dreams. So are we acknowledging that reading dreams and interpreting them properly is a well applied form of aql then? Can we acknowledge that it's in the Quran, right? Are there limitations? If so, what are they? I think there are just many things when you read the Quran that can be explored and somehow extended beyond what's been done until now, or certainly in many areas until now. So yeah, wonderful idea. Tracing it back to Prophet Ibrahim and his questions, alayhi salam. Thank you very much, Brother Muhammad. Any other comments for now? I would simply, maybe as a wrap-up comment from my side, say that reason has once again taken center stage in the world, especially due to the amount of trust and dependency we've placed in science-based tools and applications, literally apps, that we have in today's world. Yeah. So I think there's no getting around it nowadays, guys. Only that other cultures and religions and traditions seem to have passed us by on this issue. Yeah, in many ways. So we're not the ones driving the debate anymore. Yeah, and I think we need to be really honest with ourselves on that. We were, for hundreds of years, the ones who were driving this debate, and therefore we were, economically superior, architecturally superior, mathematically superior, culturally superior, militarily superior, politically superior, diplomatically superior. Unfortunately, we let go of our beautiful bird, and then we're surprised that it flew away. Okay, and now we're chasing it instead of having it sit on our arm and eat from our hand. Yeah. So I think one of the imperatives, Muhammad mentioned it nicely when he said we should revive the Baitul Hikmah. I think that's a nice way to put it. I think it's also a question of the relevance of Islam in 2 generations. Yeah. Because if we want to stay relevant, we have to adapt quickly. And there's not really much time. When I look at issues like COVID, when I look at issues like digitalization, when I look at issues like, space travel, all these things that are shaping future generations and even today's, I don't see how we're going to be able to manage them without not only applying reason, but placing reason at the forefront of our understanding of Islam. So that's it from my side. If no comments, I'd love to hear what you guys came up with last week before we go into the exercise for this week. Okay, so do you guys want to comment? Either of you want to start? The comparison between Islam and enlightenment, and can we rightly say that Islam is enlightenment?
I actually have to jump off in about 1 minute, but I can I maybe I'll just say real quickly, and then I can watch the rest on the recording. Muhammad had shared in the chat, the 5 concepts of enlightenment. And they are reason as a divine force. It's reason is what makes humans human, and it destroys intolerance. And then nature is good and reasonable. Nature's laws govern the universe. Happiness is achieved when you live by nature's laws and don't wait. You don't have to wait for heaven. And then the ideas of progress and liberty and freedom. So these were the main concepts of enlightenment. And really, I mean, what can I say beyond? Yes, this is completely Islamic, right? And especially reason as a divine force. I mean, it's kind of great that they even use that term, reason as a divine force, and I think there's lots of we can do with that, as Muslims, especially considering what we've just spoken about in terms of reason being a foundation of our deen and our book and everything. So and that the idea that God does not require us to do things beyond reason. I mean, there are those examples of Khidr, and there are those examples of Ibrahim alayhi salam being asked to sacrifice his son, and things that happen in the Quran where God's servants are asked to suspend their reason for the sake of trust and faith,
or expand their reason, maybe, right?
Yeah. Or what?
Or expand their understanding of reason, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. But that so there are those moments in the Quran, but ultimately, throughout the Quran, Allah wants us to use our reason and also to look at nature, to as basically as ayat, right? And that kind of can work together, right? The reason of the book and the reason of our minds and and our observance of nature can all work together so that we can kind of attune ourselves with the natural laws of the universe and achieve liberty and peace and progress through them. Yeah.
And humaneness.
And humaneness, yes.
Wonderful. Okay, I think it's a great summary and a great comparison. So thanks a lot, Logan. Mohammed, would you like to add to that and contribute? Let's maybe let Logan go. I think he has to jump, right?
Yeah, I'll jump off and I'll have to watch the rest on the video. So shukran and assalamu alaikum, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Waalaikumsalam. Because then the other perspective or the other angle to it are the 4 principles of enlightenment. The first being the law-like order of the natural world or the natural law, and that would relate to Sunnatullah, definitely. The second principle would be the power of human reason, which would relate to Ra'i, Akal, and sound intellect. The third principle being the natural rights of individuals, including the right to self-government. And this would relate to the different styles of governance, which we can see throughout the history of Islam. Right? There has never been a single form or one particular way of governance there. There's always been a variety. No one says which one is wrong. They embrace it. And the last principle of enlightenment would be the progressive improvement of society. That would relate to maqasid and the maslahah, which essentially are maqasid of Sharia.
Right, right. It is. That is true. At the end
It
of
is.
the day, there's no avoiding Sharia. Just to be honest, I mean that's just the way it is. It's perfectly based on reason. So therefore, it is what it is.
So basically, I mean, Islam and the revelation has already set the foundation.
Right.
But the Enlightenment period, the philosophers actually, basically, they discovered the same thing.
Yes.
But presented in different angles that suit their time and context.
You're right, and even Muhammad Ghazali says the same thing, at the end of his life. Because if you look at the works of Ghazali, he's a really interesting guy because he's taking different positions in different moments of his life. Yeah. So at the first, he's anti-Sufi and anti-philosophy. Then he's pro-Sufi and anti-philosophy. And then at the very end, he's pro-Sufi and pro-philosophy. So at the end, he makes his path and his revelations, and he comes at
But
the
I
end.
guess the
Yeah.
but I guess the end part of his life wasn't really focused on.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
people didn't pay attention to it.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. That's very true. They focused on well, what actually happened was that the leaders of the time, they kind of sponsored and financed certain of his positions that they liked. Yeah. And they took those positions and they pushed those forward. And that's how, of course, he gained traction and fame. Yeah.
Yeah. So because those positions will kill the rule of reason, so that actually gives the leaders more power.
Exactly. That's it. That's the thing right there. And that's what happened. And so for a little bit of power in their day, they took away all the power of the Muslims for a later day. Yeah.
And precisely why Ibn Rushd felt the need to write their refutation.
Yes, exactly. And of course, let's say fortunately in a way, the Shia tradition has always been independent of all of that. And they were able to possess and move forward on aql without necessarily following the peripatetic train of thought. And that's exactly where Mullah Sadra comes in, Sadr ad-Din Shirazi. So he breaks from that whole essentialist philosophy and he goes straight for existentialism as the greatest proof of reason, of aql, right? And in fact he does not only that, but he does this beautiful synthesis of Sharia, fiqh, usul, irfaniya, and tasawwuf. He really, through aql, he really layers it in a beautiful way. I don't know how much you've had the opportunity to study Sadr ad-Din Shirazi, but the guy's incredible because he says it all has relevance. You cannot say one part is irrelevant, the other part is relevant. No, it all has relevance, but you just have to put it in the right order and apply it at the right moment. And then, you can take the best of tasawwuf, you can take the best of aql, you can take the best of shariat, of usul, of fiqh, of kalam, of everything, right? So it's not that you have a contradiction, it's just a matter of ordering it the right way and structuring it the right way. And this is for me, I mean, really a pinnacle of Islamic philosophy, if you will. So any further comments, thoughts from your side?
That would be the two main things that we discussed, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So I think we maybe I'll just quickly explain, for next class, maybe just a little bit of an assignment for you guys again in the group. The assignment would be to provide a discussion on Islam and reason. What is reason exactly? How is it defined in the Quran? How was it applied by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the Sahaba and the early Muslims? How has that concept of reason changed throughout history of Islam? And what is reason today with a focus on Islamic values? Okay, or what does the what role does reason still play in the Islamic context? Yeah, and I think we talked about it a lot now in the last hour or so. But so you can use any of that, what we talked about, but also feel free to contribute your own sources, obviously, your own research, your own opinions, viewpoints, your own discussion, and we can talk about it next month. Actually, in, I think, 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, it would be.
About 2 3 weeks.
So guys, the clock is ticking. You have 3 weeks.
But I guess it's a continuation of the current exercise.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a mere extension.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys are writing anything down or putting anything in text, but I'd love to, collect all of the, okay, great. I mean, if we have, like, at the end, if somebody wants to put together a notebook or organize the...
Probably can be done.
Be great. And then we can...
it's a compilation of notes.
Right, exactly. And then we
Yep.
can share it with everybody. We can clean it up and share it with everybody in the circle and have something that we can hold on to and take for the next step, if there is one, inshallah. Yeah.
Yeah, probably can be done. Maybe I can do some sort of summary. Then we can update the chat group and see if the guys have anything to add on.
That would be wonderful. And I'm happy to also look at it and help you edit and structure and everything. So we can do that.
Sure. Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.
Wa antum. So have a great next few weeks. And of course, we're in touch on Facebook and over Messenger.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So let's
Inshallah.
and thank you very much again for participating. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.